Hello and welcome back to the Career Cravings podcast. If you feel like your job search isn't going anywhere and you're still trying to figure out why that may be, I have something super special for you today. So today I am sharing a past training that I did some time ago, breaking down the 5 biggest mistakes that I see job seekers make in today's market. And I'll give you a hint, it is not specifically the market itself, but these 5 things, when they are changed, this is how my clients get the results by shifting these 5 mistakes. So I cannot wait for you to hear this. So if you feel like you are getting ghosted, you're applying nonstop, or maybe you're feeling overlooked in your applications for jobs you actually know that you can do and you deserve, this episode is for you. So let's dive in. Hey, it's Irina Pozan, and welcome back to the Career Cravings podcast. This podcast has a simple mission. It's to help ambitious professionals like you build the career and life that you've been craving. Over the past 15 years, I've worked as an HR leader, designed hiring systems, led recruitment teams, and I've sat on the other side of the hiring table. I've seen what works in today's job market, what doesn't, and what separates those good candidates from the ones that actually land their dream roles. Now I'm bringing everything I've learned straight to you. Each episode is packed with actionable insights and tools to help you land your dream role sooner. Now let's dive in. So maybe you spent countless hours tweaking your resume, right? You keep going back to that resume, questioning it, and you're like, is this thing on? Like, is this working? I'm not really sure. It's not getting the results. Or maybe you're not hearing back from those competitive roles that you actually want. So these are the roles that, not those like contract roles that don't excite you. These are the actual dream roles where you apply and you're like cross all of your fingers and toes and you're like, I hope they call me back. So that is what we're talking about here. Or maybe you're starting to feel frustrated because you see others landing those dream opportunities on LinkedIn every single day. And you're like, what are they doing differently? I just want to know. I haven't been able to crack this code for myself and I want to know what it is. So let's dive into this. I will be sharing the game-changing strategy that will help you land those job offers. We're going to dive deep into the top mistakes that I see over and over again and how you can fix them. But we're also going to talk about how you can crush it in your interviews every single time. Because of course, that is how you will land those exciting offers. The people that get the most out of this workshop are those that stay engaged. So the way that I recommend doing this is get a paper and pen and jot down any insights that you're getting today, right? Anything you want to walk away with making a change, because there's going to be a ton that we cover. And if we're just getting introduced, you may be wondering how I would be able to help you with landing your HR role, right? So I'm Irina, and if we've never met, I'm the CEO of the only career coaching company for HR professionals. So I'm literally the only coach that's creating programs specifically only for HR. And over the last decade, I have also been an HR leader, and I have spent 15 years in HR myself before becoming a coach. So in the last 15 years, I've had the opportunity to lead recruitment teams. I've taught recruiters how to recruit. I've designed hiring processes. I know ATS systems inside and out. And I've also been a hiring manager myself for over a decade. So I'll just say I know a thing or two about landing your next HR role. It is sort of my superpower. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And in terms of my own career path, so just to kind of walk you through what I have been through in my own career, which is how I would be able to guide you as well. I started my career as an HR administrator. Like, let me know if this sounds familiar to any of you. Making like $37,000 a year. But when I landed that job, that was my dream job at the time. I remember graduating and just being like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I landed that first role. And then I was quickly promoted from there. So I have been in leadership roles for the last decade. And then most recently, I was the director of talent management and recruitment at a global firm where I helped people get to the next level of their career and also managed the recruitment process. With that, I have taken everything that I've learned along the way, and what I've done is created a signature framework specifically for HR professionals that gets them incredible results in their job search. And this is exactly what I want to share with you right now. These are the exact shifts that you need to show up as a top candidate, especially in this more challenging market right now. So this is the blueprint to landing your next HR role. We're going to break it down in a lot of detail. Right now, you may be aware and you may be experiencing this, but the average job search in HR right now is between 6 to 8 months, right? So it is a challenging market, and these are the exact shifts that you need. And we'll be covering the next 5 mistakes as well. If you're currently struggling and you're not getting the response rate that you're looking for and you're not landing those exciting interviews, this is what is going to help. So just to break it down a little bit before we dive deeper into it, the first shift is to be successful in your job search. We're going to need a job search strategy that works specifically for HR. So this is not the spray and pray approach, but this is currently you. We are going to be changing that. Once you also have an incredible job search strategy, the next thing that you're going to need is a resume that actually lands you the interviews you're looking to land, right? The interviews that excite you. And once you have a fully optimized resume, you will start getting a ton of those phone screens. So the next most important thing to focus on is your personal brand, your first impression, your pitch. We're going to cover this all to be able to convert those phone screens into the next level of interviews. Okay. So if someone calls you back, this is where they're hearing from you and they're like, okay, Katya, you are my person. Like, I'm so excited that I'm speaking to you. I want to move you on to the next stage. So we're going to talk about how to do that. And after you nail the phone screens, of course, you landed that first impression. Amazing. That's an incredible start. But the next most important thing is to master those final interviews, right? Because without this, and this is an interview skill, which we're going to be talking about, without mastering those final interviews, and let me know if this is you, you'll continue to be kind of that runner-up candidate, which is, of course, not what we want. The ultimate goal is always to have as many offers as possible so that you can have the best choice in where you want to spend your time every single day, right? Because it is a huge decision. So once you have all 4 of these elements together, there is no competition, and you'll be able to stand out in this competitive market and also start showing up as that star candidate. So a star candidate, if we just break that down for a second, this is the candidate that the hiring manager and recruiter knows is a unicorn. So we used to call them star candidates in the recruitment world. If you're a recruiter, you may as well, where we're like, okay, we actually just spoke to someone who we are so excited about, excited to move them forward. They're the right person and excited to move quickly and get them that offer, right? So if you're struggling to land your next role, we're going to go through these 5 shifts. And I also want you to know that this framework works for every single HR professional at every level. So I've had clients from CHROs, VPs, directors, business partners, generalists, those landing their first roles out of school or those pivoting into HR. It works for everyone. Okay. So the biggest mistake that I want to start with is one that breaks my heart every single time, because I hear HR professionals always saying, I'm not ready yet. So maybe it's like you are saying you want to go to that HRBP level, that director level, but deep down somewhere inside, you're thinking like, well, I'm not getting the response. I might not be ready yet. And the reason I want to talk about this is because this was me 10 years ago. Okay. I dreamed of landing my first HR manager role. And at the time, I remember thinking that was sort of nuts. I was like, well, I only have 5 years of experience. I have no leadership skills technically yet. I didn't have my designation, CHRP or SHRM. And at the time, I was just like, okay, I'm going to go for it. The market was also challenging. This is around, the last downturn of the economy as well. And I was like, you know what? I'm going for it. And I remember applying and I ended up landing an interview with my dream company. So this is Bell for the Canadian folks here, one of Canada's largest companies, 55,000 employees, a top employer. And I was one of hundreds of applicants. Later, I learned there were 300 applicants. And this was my dream job. And I remember going in there and thinking, I'm so blessed to even have gotten this interview, and I didn't want to screw it up, right? So I don't know if you've had one of those interviews lately. You're like, I don't know what I did to deserve this, but this is like everything that I have wanted. And I remember going in and my confidence was a little bit shaky, right? I was again questioning. I knew they probably had more qualified candidates. I knew they had hundreds of candidates. And as I was walking into the interview from the front doors with the person that greeted me, I remember her sharing like they were interviewing, and this was a later time slot. It was after work. I remember her saying like that week for that interview, they were interviewing 10 other people. So I was like, okay, my chances are not very high. And there were many more qualified people on paper that were there. They had more years in their leadership. They had more years in HR. My degree wasn't even done yet. I'm sure they had degrees and maybe even fancy MBAs, right? But I ended up getting that job. And let me know if this surprises anyone, because it certainly surprised me. Like I was on cloud nine. I remember calling my husband, like shaking, like I got the offer. Like I can't believe I got the offer. So why did I get it? I want to break this down. The reason I got it was I was able to articulate my value the best. So the person that is the most qualified for the job does not always get the job. The person that can articulate their value the best does. Okay, so I'll let that sit with you. Let me know if this surprises anyone. From working with hundreds of people directly through my programs, I am here to tell you that all of you can show up as a star candidate as well. I have worked with HR professionals from all walks of life. Yes, some have incredible MBAs and it's great. I love education. That's amazing. And some don't, right? Some are trying to land their very first role and don't have experience yet. It's all about the value you're able to articulate, and anyone can do this with the right strategy. So if you're here, maybe you're wondering if you're not getting the job because of your experience, the lack of education, maybe question the market, right? The lack of experience in this country. Maybe you've never worked in North America before and you're finding it really hard to stand out. With those 4 shifts that we talked about, that is the key. And we're going to break that down. And I could tell you that it is not the case. You are more ready than you know, and you can show up as a top candidate right now. Okay. Do you catch yourself even in the back of your mind thinking, I might not be ready yet? The second biggest mistake that I see HR professionals make time and time again is updating their resume every single time. The one thing I want to demystify here is you do not need to do that. And that is exhausting and it will burn you out in your search. But I want to let you know what will work instead. So what does work is having one version of your resume that is fully optimized for the level you're looking for. So I saw so many of you saying, I'm going for an HRBP role, very specific. I'm going for a manager role. And some of you are even more specific, like I'm looking for a role in HRIS or health and safety, right? So with that, that is your key and that is your blueprint. So many people write their resumes like job descriptions of roles they previously had, right? So let me know if this is you. And writing your resume like a job description of your prior roles is not what's going to get you hired for your next role that you're looking for. So my biggest piece of advice to you here around the resume is to create one incredible version of your resume that gets you results for the level you're going for. And we're going to break this down. So for example, I want to pull one from the chat. So I know so many of you said, okay, I am going for the HR manager level. So you're going to see a huge pattern. They're almost going to look like duplicates when you look at the different job descriptions of the things you're applying for, right? Those HR manager roles, you'll see the same competencies time and time again, which are probably strategy, leadership, right? For those director roles, for those manager roles, even those HRBP roles. I know when a client comes to me and they're like, how do I prepare for this director interview? It's like, well, the job description is right there and it focuses on strategy and leadership every single time. There will be other things as well, but take a step back. And if you have your notebook in front of you, think about at the level that you're applying for, what are the things you're seeing time and time again, and catering your resume to those things once, not every single time, not for every job application, because you're going to find that this is a consistent pattern over and over again. So let's break down one more. I know some of you said coordinator roles, generalist roles is what you're looking for next. So here you're going to see a pattern of performance management, employee relations, laws and regulations, building strong relationships. The strong relationships is you'll see probably in every type of HR role, but these are the focuses. So you only need to do this prep work once to get one version of your resume right that gets those results. And that's the one you use for every single application. So it's going to be specific for the level you're looking for, not the level you've had in the past. And this is going to get you way better results. It's also going to save you a ton of time. And that's what shifted for the clients that we've talked about. They went from tailoring their resumes, spending so much time applying and spinning their wheels and not getting the responses that they're looking for, to building one version that works, that gets noticed by hiring managers, that books them those interviews. And at the end of the masterclass, I will also break down how you can have access to this as well, which is the resume transformation. So you know exactly how to do that. Okay, let's move on to the third mistake that I see time and time again, which is also around the resumes. This is breaking down the resume a little bit further. So the other mistake that I see with resumes is to continue to use the same resume that's not getting you results, right? And so many people just say, okay, I need to apply more. I need to spend more hours every day, and that will eventually work. Right? So I want to look at some metrics with you to identify whether or not there could be an issue with your resume. So let's think about the numbers here. So if you think back to roles that you've applied for that you are fully qualified for. So I'm not talking about like 100% qualification, but that you know that you could do if you landed the role, right? So if you're applying every single week and your resume is not getting you phone screens, at least 10% of the time, for roles that you're qualified for, it is not working. So that is how you know you should go back and revisit the resume transformation and kind of start a brand new resume that is more aligned, that will get you results. So even right now in this job market, there are over 750,000 job roles available across North America. And I know you're seeing the opportunities and just likely not cracking the code on the response rate. Are you getting at least 10%? And if you're sitting here thinking, maybe it's my resume, I don't know what it is, I'm hearing crickets, the biggest piece of advice that I can share with you is to stop using the resume that you have if it's not getting you results, right? So what happens is if you have something that is not working and you continue to use it for the next, let's say 10 applications, the results will look exactly like the last 10 applications unless you decide to make a change, right? So think about in your last 10 applications, did you land an interview? If so, you're on the right track. 10% is like the low response rate, but that is a signal that, you know, your resume is working for you. What I will also say is there is the Frankenstein strategy, which I know so many people go to when creating their resume. And I want to break this down because it might sound familiar. So the Frankenstein strategy is like taking a piece of information from Google, okay, and trying to ask a friend or a family member to look at your resume. And by the way, they always say it's all good. They're probably like, yep, it looks great. And then you're still not getting the results you're looking for. This is what I call the Frankenstein strategy. And it doesn't work because it's not a cohesive view strategically on all of your accomplishments, the metrics associated with that, and how they link to the role that you're applying for and that dream role, right? So I know you have probably tried your very best to put this together, and you've put together the best resume that you absolutely can, and you've used kind of advice from all different places. You might have even hired someone to do your resume that isn't an HR professional, and the data still is keeping you stuck. So you're still unsure of what to do next. So we're going to talk about that at the end as well, on how you can have a fully optimized resume that actually gets noticed in this market. I want to celebrate another client, which is Aaron. So Aaron did exactly what we're talking about. So after his resume transformation, he started landing interviews, like 7 interviews a week. And this was just a few weeks ago in this market for HR manager roles. He actually was telling me, he's like, Irina, I don't have time to apply. Like I am in these interviews every day. And that's amazing. So he started spending his time in conversations, in interviews. And what ended up happening is just incredible. So he ended up landing 3 HR manager offers in 1 week, 1 month after his resume transformation. Right? So this shows the power of having a resume that actually lands you those interviews where you're spending your time in the best possible way, which is deciding and speaking to organizations and deciding if they are right for you, right? And 2 of them were absolutely dream offers. You could see his note here. And what he says was like, the resume was a game changer, which that is the foundation. That is what it starts with. So yes, this is possible even in this market where you may feel like it is such a struggle, like pulling teeth just to land 1 or 2 or 3 phone screens. All right. Mistake 4 is all around the interview skills. So for those of you that have that really great resume, like I'm seeing, and you're not seeing, that response rate. The next thing to focus on then, if you're not landing the offers that you're interested in, is the interview stage, right? And the biggest mistake I see in and around the interview stage is not capturing attention in the first 60 seconds of that job interview. And I'll also let you know how you can measure to see if you are doing this well. This is where you have a phone screen, you really hit it off, the conversation goes well, and you're invited to that next stage at least 80% of the time. And I want to break down why the first impression is so important. We only get one first impression, right? When we meet someone. And if you're heading into these phone screens and you're not able to capture the right type of attention from that recruiter in the first 60 seconds, it will unlikely lead to the next interview stage, right? And the reason is that people have really short attention spans and they make up their mind about us in that first minute. So if you haven't captured them right away, you have lost them. So, if you're going to these phone screens and they ask you, of course, like always, they ask you that famous question, like, tell me about you. And you're spending like 4 or 5 minutes talking about things that aren't related specifically to the role. And you're like, hey, I started my, career with this. And then I ended up here and then I went there. And then prior to that, I was this. And you're not pulling out the specific most important things in your pitch, you have likely lost that opportunity. So if you're seeing a great response rate to your resume, but it's getting lost somewhere after that, like through the interviews, the number one tip that I will give you for this stage is to create an incredible pitch, which answers that tell me about you question. All right. So the metrics that you want to look for is like for your last 5 interviews, have you been invited to the next stage 4 out of 5 of them? Okay. Or like 80% of the time. And the reason I say that this number has to be so high is because they wouldn't be calling you if you didn't meet the criteria. When you land a phone screen, they have already selected you. They're like, we liked your resume, right? We are calling you because you are the small group of people that we want to speak to. And we know you're qualified from your resume, right? So they would never be calling you if they didn't already screen you in. The people that get calls are a very small number in comparison to those that have applied. At this stage, pretty much going to be moving ahead. They've already liked you unless there's something else that is happening in that conversation where it didn't go exactly as planned, right? So when you're interviewing, just remember you are the brand. And I know it can sometimes feel a little bit challenging, but you are selling yourself and your value. And you're trying to, as articulately as possible, display why you would be amazing in that role, why you are the right person. Making a hiring decision. I know a ton of you are in HR, like, you probably hire people as well. You know that it's a huge risk to make an offer to someone and you want to know for sure that they're the right person. And the pitch helps connect all of the dots strategically for recruiter or that hiring manager that you're speaking to. And if you do this correctly, you will be invited to the next stage nearly every single time on the spot, instead of saying, I will check with the hiring manager and I'll get back to you, right? Let me know if you've heard that recently as well. So I want to dive in a little deeper on interviewing. And the questions that I have for you are, how many of you have gone into your interviews where you're thinking, I'm not that great at interviewing? Or maybe you don't have the full confidence that you can land that next dream role. And I want to break this down because I believed this myth for a long time too. Like I just believed, I'm not that great at interviewing. And I did have terrible interviews. Like I remember one, it was an internal role. And my leader was like, well, are you ready for this? Like, tell me why you'd be great at the role. And I literally could not answer that question at all. And I just wasn't expecting it. And it caught me off guard and I froze. Like, let me know if that has been you before, where you go in, your heart's beating out of your chest and you're just like, maybe I'm not that great at interviewing. Maybe that's why it didn't go well. So there is an art powerfully and authentically telling your story to answer the questions in a way that works for you. So I want to break this down and demystify that belief if you have it, because interviewing is a skill. Anyone can become a great interviewer. And I didn't always feel like I had that skill, but it's something that when you have a blueprint and you know how to answer the questions, you are doing the same thing time and time again. And you will be able to show up and authentically and confidently articulate your experience in a way that aligns with what the manager is looking for. But this is a skill, right? And this is a skill that lands offers and that will get you hired. Okay, so I have a tip here as well. So around interviewing, the biggest tip that I can give you is to get into the mind of the interviewer. I'm going to break down how to do this. So go back before your phone screen, before your interview with the hiring manager, go back and the job description will be your blueprint to exactly everything that they will ask you and what they're focused on. So this is the blueprint of what to focus all of your answers on, including your pitch. And if you are able to map the experience you have to those things that they're looking for, they're going to walk out of that interview knowing that you're speaking the same language and that you are checking off their checklist to what they've been looking for in a candidate. It's using the job description as map to what they're going to focus on. So I know a ton of clients just focus on bringing their best experiences no matter what they are, right? But when you switch the view to what is important to the other side I'm speaking to, you will land those offers because you'll be the obvious choice. I want to also celebrate Krishna because I love her story. She landed her dream head of HR role at Newsticks while pivoting from the tech industry in 3 weeks. So together we mapped out a really powerful pitch where she told her story super confidently. And that's what got her hiring cycles to advance so quickly. And they made her an offer on the spot as well in her final interview. So she connected the dots so closely where it was like an absolute no-brainer that she was the right candidate. All right, let's go into the final mistake that I see time and time again. So the final mistake that I always see are people just winging it. They're like, yep, I'm going to do the spray and pray approach. I will apply to all of these roles and not apply a specific strategy. So I hear it all the time where HR professionals, after not getting the response they're looking for, they're like, yes, I apply to everything. I'm applying to like 300 roles, anything, whether it's like a job that I don't want, the lower paying roles, contracts, I'm applying to everything. And the one thing that I want to emphasize is the importance of a strategy versus that spray and pray approach, especially in today's market where you do have to really connect the dots quickly about why you stand out and why you're the perfect fit for that specific opportunity. And if you're looking to land a role you've never landed before, it's going to take a different approach, right? That you've never used before as well. And again, this comes back to the most qualified person doesn't get the role, but the person that can articulate their value the best does. All right. So I want to talk about something. This is a bonus mistake, but mindset is another huge opportunity that I see. And I talk to so many people that are like, I am crying every single week in my job search, right? So I want to talk about mindset a little bit with you and imposter syndrome. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to venture to say so many of you have because you're HR professionals, but I want to break down what this is. So imposter syndrome, it's like if you are feeling like you have any shred of self-doubt going into that interview, you may be experiencing this. And this is a mindset gap that I really want to talk about because it is so common, especially among high achievers. And in job search, it can sometimes sound like they probably have a better candidate, or I haven't done this, or I may not be ready for this. Like, who do I think I am going for that director role? Right? I've never done that before. And I want you to know that it's normal. So when leveling up your career, you're going for a role that you've never landed before. It's totally normal to question your own abilities. And I have been there. I know we all have 70,000 thoughts a day, every single day. And most of them are negative, right? Especially like as women, we'll walk by a mirror, we'll see ourselves and we're like, like what's going on, right? So we have all of these negative thoughts, and in job search, they can show up when we're hitting that apply button. Like, okay, here we go. This is my 553rd application or 150 applications with no call. So that is like, yes. So when you're probably hitting apply, you're like, well, why am I even doing this? Now here's another hour I've wasted on this detailed application, and I know no one is going to call me back. And you start to spiral in these thoughts because I know that job search is so challenging. And I want to share that I personally questioned if I was ready when I landed that HR manager role that I told you about. And I was my own biggest critic and I was questioning myself. And I am so glad that I didn't let it stop me because I went into that role and I remember thinking like, they're about to find out that I'm like not ready for this at all, right? Because I was so excited for the opportunity, but I was always like questioning, can I do this? And 6 months after I was still questioning myself, I ended up getting a promotion to the senior manager level without applying. And the reason this happened was while I was questioning myself and I was like, ooh, hope they don't find out that like, I'm not sure what I'm doing here. I've never done this before. I was being recognized behind the scenes and I didn't even know it. So the power of mindset is knowing that sometimes those negative thoughts, they're not reality. They are just random thoughts that enter our minds. And there is a shift that you can make to enjoy the process, to enjoy where you're currently at in your job search so much more, and not to let yourself hold you back from the right opportunity. Because again, you are much more ready than you know. So I want you to bring for those interviews that you will have coming up next, I want you to bring your confidence because that energy is what is going to land you that next role, right? So I love this story because Claire was unsure. She was like unsure if she was ready for that leadership role, for that manager role. She's never done it before. And we shifted her mindset and her confidence entirely. She showed up differently to the role that she had, although she was looking for a new role. And what ended up happening was she landed an internal promotion to manager, even though she's been at that role for like 10 years and it never happened before. And externally, she got a dream offer, which she ended up accepting at the manager level as well. So she ended up having 2 opportunities in front of her after shifting that mindset piece and doing all of the other shifts that we've talked about today as well. And if you look at her story, what she says is she was worried, that she would do all the things and they would still not work for her. And what ended up happening was she got 2 offers, which was incredible. And I know that we only scratched the surface today as well. And we covered a tiny fraction of what is possible when you dive in with the right customized strategy for you. Thank you for being here. If we're going to work together more closely or not, thank you for being here. And I hope that this was helpful. If you want to reach out to me and just DM me and let me know your biggest insight, That is how I know I should continue doing this. Also, don't forget, I have a brand new training that just came out and I have the replay linked in the show notes. So swipe up and get your dose of all of the tips on how you can land specifically your next HR role by swiping up after you listen to this episode. I'll see you inside. Hey, before you go, if you've enjoyed listening to today's show, I would love your support. Please take a moment to leave a review anywhere where you listen to podcasts. And here's the exciting part. I'm running a special contest and giving away a one-on-one session with yours truly. All you have to do is leave a review, take a screenshot, and send it to me in my DMs. All of my contact info is in the show notes. I appreciate you so much, and I cannot wait to build the career and life that you've been craving together. See you next week.